Oh, hello everybody, it's Megalithic here, otherwise known as Puglo Escobar, and today we're here to have a look at the Overflod Entity MT, retailing for a price of $2,355,000, and I'm sure you'll agree, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of looks, it's more stylish than a Parisian pimp. Okay, now we're going to take the vehicle out onto the street and see how it handles. Now, there's a lot to be said about this vehicle, ladies and gentlemen, and not in a good way, I'm afraid to report. Mr. Raccoon refers to this vehicle as like being slowly punched in the face, and there's nothing you can do about it, you know. Myself, I like to refer to the Overflod Entity MT as a very fast tank, ladies and gentlemen. That's about the only way I can put it. In terms of acceleration, ladies and gentlemen, it's less impressive than a tap dancing sea lion, I'm afraid. In terms of handling, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets very peculiar. It's got very good traction, and there's sort of when you the slight press on the wheel, ladies and gentlemen, very poor traction when you sort of push harder on the wheel. The very same with the steering, ladies and gentlemen. It's very responsive and very sharp when you're doing very slight maneuvers, but if you put a little more pressure, if you push further on the wheel there, then it's going to get very heavy, and then it's going to slide out, you know. So generally speaking, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of handling, it's sort of heavier and more twitchy than an elephant having an epileptic fit, you know. It's just very, very peculiar to drive, ladies and gentlemen, like we say. Sort of very twitchy, very responsive initially, then it gets very heavy, and then it just slides out on you, ladies and gentlemen. You're probably going to see that coming around this corner. There we go, right there. Okay, yeah, so acceleration absolutely feels terrible, ladies and gentlemen. The handling is really very unpleasant. The top speed, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't feel like it's going fast, but as we're later going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out that it is. Okay, well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We brought it back to the Maze Bank offices, and we're going to send the vehicle on inside, and we're going to go on into the custom auto shop and have the vehicle modified. Okay, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are indeed now inside the custom auto shop. Now, as always, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going through this section of the video at double speed, just in order to hurry things along somewhat, you know, but still with the aim to provide you, the viewer, with the opportunity of having a look at the different modifications that can be affected to this vehicle, should you then choose to go ahead and purchase it, you know. And that really is the salient point of this video, ladies and gentlemen. The question, of course, is, presumably you're asking, if you're watching this video, is it worth buying the Overflod Entity MT? Well, we shall endeavor to answer that question, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of this video. You know, we will get to our opinion, our assessment of that very particular question, but for now, why not sit back and look at the pretty modifications and the different colors that can be applied to this vehicle while I ramble some more at you, because there is quite a lot to be said about this vehicle, you know. Like we say, it's retailing at sort of $2,300,000, which means it's getting very close to the $2.5 million mark, ladies and gentlemen. And for that kind of money, you can really buy some very, very impressive cars on this game. You can also buy one or two duds as well, you know, so you have got to watch where you spend your money, and hence the question, is the car worth it, you know. Like we say, it doesn't accelerate fast, ladies and gentlemen. The handling's very unpleasant. The top speed, it turns out to be surprisingly fast once you get it going. Okay, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to take these two vehicles out on the street. They now have both been fully modified across the board, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Raccoon in the white entity, myself in the pink entity there, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to put these modified vehicles around the street to let you see how they handle. Okay, like we say, in terms of acceleration, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid it's got less acceleration than a hoofless horse in a Los Angeles traffic jam, you know. In terms of handling, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's more unpleasant to handle than a wet blob of goo, and I really can't find any other way to say it, I'm afraid. It's the top speed, ladies and gentlemen, that really is the deceptive thing about this car, you know. It really doesn't feel like it's going very fast. It sort of feels like it tops out very early and then doesn't have much under the hood, but really, ladies and gentlemen, in reality, it's sort of quicker than the rotation of the earth, you know. I mean, it may not feel like it's that fast when you're on it, but well, when you're in it, but when you work out what's going on, my God, it's going to boggle your mind, you know, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to have our minds boggled. Okay, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with a series of tests that we like to perform on this channel, and the first one is going to be sending them up to the top speed test track, ladies and gentlemen. Now, just to give you an indication, what we consider to be a broadly competitive time to get down the straight is 53.54 seconds. That's all the Pegassi Zentorno can do, and the Overflod Entity MT can do. 52.421. Now that really is a very competitive time, ladies and gentlemen, and it shocks both Mr. Raccoon and myself to our very core. I can assure you the car really doesn't feel like it's performing at all when you're driving it. To get that kind of time is very interesting. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, top speed does not necessarily equate to performance around the track, and now we're going to establish exactly where it sits, and we're going to bring out an Overflod to start with. It's one of its sisters, ladies and gentlemen, an Overflod Entity, but it's the XXR, retailing for $2,305,000, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, the new Overflod Entity can take down both of the old ones, let's be honest. Okay, and the next vehicle we're going to bring out is going to be the Overflod Tyrant, ladies and gentlemen, $2.5 million. Now, I did say earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that for that kind of money you can buy one or two duds on the game, and the Overflod Tyrant certainly is one of those duds. We do not recommend you purchase the Overflod Tyrant whatsoever, but I do recommend that you go and watch Mr. Bromby's channel. You know, all of the other cars are being driven by Mr. Raccoon. His name is the Bromby. He has a channel of his own. It's called the Bromby. If you want to go and type that into YouTube, you should find some videos while you're there. It's got some rather good videos on there. Okay, it's another Overflod for the time being, ladies and gentlemen. We are sticking with them, and this will be the last one we bring out. It is the top end Overflod, $2,820,000. Ladies and gentlemen, purchases you the Overflod Xeno, and my god, for that kind of money, ladies and gentlemen, you can go and buy yourself a Krieger, you know, and we really would recommend that you go and do that. Or perhaps even the Progen and Meris, you know. The Overflod Xeno, in our opinion, ladies and gentlemen, is a woeful disappointment and certainly not worth the money, and the Overflod Entity MT, as you see, can take it down there, no problem whatsoever. It does come close a couple of times, you know, but generally speaking, the Overflod, the Entity takes it. So the next vehicle we're bringing out now, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the Dubachi Champion. This vehicle has two prices. It's either $2.25 million, $2,246,250. My God, why do they make it that price? Or basically $3 million, $2,995,000. Looks like a Dubachi, ladies and gentlemen. Performs like a Dubachi, I do have to lament to tell you. The Wagner was not bad. Unfortunately, it doesn't perform anymore. The Champion never did. Okay, so you remember me saying, ladies and gentlemen, mentioned it a couple of times now, about duds for about $2.5 million. Allow me to introduce you to the True Fade Thrax, ladies and gentlemen. This particular vehicle is retailing for a price of $2,325,000, so a very similar ballpark, very similar indeed to the Overflod Entity MT. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it is fighting, you know, it is pulling alongside there. In fact, it is getting in front, and now it's dropping behind, because as far as we've been able to establish, the Thrax can't win a single race, and so it shall remain. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so now we're going to give up and we're going to bring out a more serious car. It is the Garotti Fiore. This car also has two prices, effectively $2 million or $2.75 million, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very fine Garotti. As you can see, it got off the line in front of us there, got to the top of the track in front of us, and we are now trying to fight to get around in front of it there. And of course, the handling on the Fiore, ladies and gentlemen, does mean it takes that corner with a substantial amount of it is, but we have got, of course, the power there. We are going to come past it at the end. So the Fiore goes down to the Overflod Entity MT, and that really is rather shocking, ladies and gentlemen. So now we are going to bring out a really very heavy hitter, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Lamborghini Tigon, retailing for a price of $2,310,000. It is a very, very serious car, ladies and gentlemen, and it's just dropped behind the Overflod Entity MT, which really is rather disturbing. It's got better handling. It gets round in front of the corner there, ladies and gentlemen, and we are now fighting for it down the back, but oh my god, what are we seeing? Okay, it is really a battle for it there, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? And yes, the Overflod is going to go down to the Tigon, and thank god for that. Okay, so we're going to start to wrap things up. In the interest of brevity, we've had to cut out the Serrano, but I think you can assume the result for that yourself, ladies and gentlemen. This is Big Daddy Z. It is the Pegassi Zentorno, retailing for $725,000, an absolutely phenomenal vehicle for the money, ladies and gentlemen. One of the best on GTA in terms of value for money, as far as we're concerned. Very good acceleration, phenomenal acceleration, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic top speed. The only problem is it's very slippy slidey, ladies and gentlemen. Sort of like driving on ice with oil-covered wheels. It's absolutely suicidal, to be quite frank with you. There's only one more question, and that's the Garotti Italia RSX. And of course, the Garotti Italia RSX is going to monster it into the ground. So what can we say about the Overflod Entity MT? In terms of looks, ladies ladies and gentlemen, it's cooler than a snow leopard wearing a pair of designer sunglasses. In terms of acceleration, it moves slower than a gypsy encampment moves off a public park, you know. And in terms of handling, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it really is less satisfying than a hot date with an orangutan. It's just that top speed, ladies and gentlemen, is very deceptive. Doesn't feel like it's going very fast, but it's sort of more deceptive than cryptocurrency and moves faster than the bottom fell out of the Bitcoin market. But there we are, ladies and gentlemen. So that's it. What do we say? Do we think it's worth it? Well, this is really very peculiar, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Raccoon loathes the car. I loathe the car indeed. I loathe it as well. It does perform around the track as you would expect for its price range, but my God, it's a horrible car to drive, ladies and gentlemen. We don't think it's worth it. In fact, Mr. Raccoon, yes, he's off to go and sell his right now. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you very much for watching.